All right, from food assistance to lifestyle changes and even new blood tests, major breakthroughs in protecting brain health were unveiled at a recent conference aimed at fighting Alzheimer's. Here now to share more is Clay Jacobs, the executive director of the Georgia chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. Clay, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us.
All right. Many people still see Alzheimer's as a mystery, right? Or what is being done about the actual cause of it, or what do we know about it?
I think that's the exciting part. And you mentioned that last week, the Alzheimer's Association's International Conference hosted folks from across the world. And some of the most exciting things were around risk reduction to eliminate risk or reduce it for those asymptomatically, looking at how we improve brain health, really significant announcements around treatment, and even how do we diagnose before folks see symptoms coming along. And so much is happening. It's just how do we inform people about it and how do we make a difference in their daily lives?
Is it just like memory loss? Is that the first notification, or is it something else? I know typically we talk about memory loss and confusion. What's the difference between normal aging and those early signs?
It's such an important question because we associate things like memory loss, and that is a part of it. But ultimately, it is a disease, Alzheimer's disease, or any dementia that impacts the brain. And so we could see personality changes, memory loss, problems with language or vision, or a whole slew of other pieces. What's really important is we know so much more now that if somebody notices something, then it's time. And if it's happening more frequently and more often and more severely, that's certainly time to talk to our family or our physicians to learn more.
You talk about personality change, and that has hit home for me. Not so much of a memory loss, but a personality. Almost a complete personality change. Is that also Alzheimer's? We probably only relate memory loss to Alzheimer's, but there's different forms of it, is what you're saying.
It is certainly one of the things we see with Alzheimer's disease, but also with a variety of other dementias. And it's one of the hardest, right? We see the person we care about changing, but really it's their brain and their brain structure that's changing. And so how they process and how they interact and how they respond is what's changing, but there's a biological cause, even though it's the person we've known for years, and that's hard to reconcile sometimes.
Yeah. Let's talk about the conference real quick here. There are more than 35 Georgia researchers present. What does that say for the state's role in fighting against the disease?
It is truly impressive. This was a global conference, over 11,000 researchers from across the world, and to have Georgia so well represented, presenting, speaking, sharing their findings, whether it's our largest universities or our smallest, there are people in the Peach State making a difference around this disease. And it's important we lift that up because it's happening in our own backyard, and they're sharing those results with the world to hopefully make a difference.
You had a few major breakthroughs during the conference. Talk to us about those.
We did. I think we saw a couple of things that are really exciting. We saw the results from something called the U.S. Pointer Study, which is a 2-year lifestyle intervention that showed that people who followed one of two kind of prescribed interventions saw improved cognition and, in fact, delayed cognitive aging by almost up to 3 years. And so those are things that once they come to community, we can all do. We saw things like the 2 FDA-approved treatments that are out in the community. We've now seen real-world data and seen that it's backing up what we saw in trials. And in fact, one of the really important parts is that now that people are on it, we're hearing how satisfied they are with the results of the treatment. And then we saw things like cardiovascular drugs were looked at because we know high cholesterol, diabetes, blood pressure are all risk factors. There was an observational study that looked and actually showed that those on a combination of therapies managing those issues saw improved cognition similar to someone maybe 3 years younger than they were.
Wow. All right. Clay Jacobs, Alzheimer's Association, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for that insight today. Really appreciate it.